we show you the clip of our upcoming HBO documentary film series, The Way to the Nation, I want to put this in a little bit of context for you. And when you think of HBO, you probably think of Game of Thrones, or you hopefully think of a movie like Game Change, and I think everyone thinks about The Sopranos. And what sort of unites all those programming decisions is that they were made in an environment that is subscriber-based. It's not advertiser-based. And when you operate in that kind of an environment, you can be bold. And I think that we'd like to think that you can be very bold. And every once in a while, we use our platform for social good. And increasingly, we've been doing that in the area of public health. You might have heard about something we did called the Addiction Project, where we partnered with the NIH to stare down the prejudice that people suffering from substance abuse experience every day. And we partnered again with the NIH on the Alzheimer's Project, where we tried to bring hope to the 55 million baby boomers in this country who are approaching retirement age. And when we do these projects, we turn our business model inside out. We make the programs available free of charge however we can, wherever we can. We like to think that we just eliminate the barriers between the content and the public. And 3 years ago, we decided to turn our lens towards obesity. And I think I'll speak personally. I think I was naive when I thought that by presenting advances in basic scientific research and medicine, that would be once again where we find hope. And I think we quickly came to realize that there are very big decisions being made in this country every day, in business, by government, in the agricultural sector, that are having an outsized impact on the decisions we make when we reach for food, when we're hungry, how much time we sit behind our desks, in our cars, or maybe on our couches. And that if we're really going to tackle this problem, we have to examine all of those forces, all of those systems. So what we decided to do is create a 4-part series that will address a whole array of issues that have to be confronted when talking about obesity. And if you accept that we evolved in a world of want, where eating more and moving less meant survival, and if you also accept that in this country, the majority of us, the vast majority of us, live in a world of plenty, then I think that we've come to understand that there is a strong contradiction at play every time that we implore people, the 2/3 of the population in this country who are overweight or obese, to simply eat less and move more. So on May 14th and 15th, HBO and our incredible partner, the Institute of Medicine, along with the NIH, the CDC, the Michael and Susan DELL Foundation, and KAISER PERMANENTE, are sounding a very loud alarm that the consequences of not acting decisively, not acting boldly, and not acting systematically are dire. So what we're going to show now, and then Judy will speak, is a 7-minute presentation reel that is pulled from the 4 hours of programming that will premiere on May 14th and 15th. We gathered 700 hours of material, talked to over 100 of our nation's leading experts on this topic. So ladies and gentlemen, a clip from, and actually this is the world premiere of any content from The Way to the Nation. So we're very glad that it's here at TEDMED.
I think obesity is perhaps the biggest threat to the health of this country.
This epidemic is not something that we've seen before, where a disease like obesity become the norm in a population.
In the future, it wouldn't surprise me if people look back on the early part of the 21st century and call this the obesity era.
Diabetes, stroke, cardiovascular disease, cancer, that's a huge drag on our economy.
Weighing in at 400 pounds at 40 years old, I don't want to live like this anymore.
Never thought that type 2 diabetes would occur in 10 or 12-year-olds, but now it's not uncommon at all.
Our food environment is hostile to healthy eating.
The kind of food that we eat is the kind that's most profitable.
I've had high blood pressure since I was 11 years old.
I'm on actually 13 different medications.
I always say this is the biggest I'm ever going to be, and I said that like 20 pounds ago.
Among the health issues that are confronting this country and now increasingly the world, this could be the #1 issue.
Levels of obesity in the United States have increased in alarming ways. In the 1980s, the Centers for Disease Control began putting together maps showing levels of obesity state by state, and then they went through the years. And every time a state changes colors, it suggests increasing levels of obesity.
Starting in the 1980s, we saw a rapid increase resulting in the current level, which is fully over 1/3 of adult men and women in the United States are obese.
We're surrounded by palatable, abundant food. We are destined to eat it.
We are seeing higher rates of obesity as incomes go down in America. Then when you do have money for that next meal, you're going to buy the items that are readily available, you're going to buy the very large portion sizes, you're going to buy items that have lots of calories.
I'm pre-diabetic.
He's a borderline diabetes.
I've got diabetes. I've got high blood pressure. I'm on cholesterol medicine. I'm on medications for all those because of my diabetes.
She has this kind of dark ring around her neck.
It's called acanthosis.
When he said about my insulin being high, I was like, oh my God, because I didn't think that I would be going through this.
It was New Year's weekend, and he woke up about 3 in the morning, and his foot had mushroomed to twice its size. In the emergency room, they took a look at his foot and said, if it's between your life and your foot goes.
There's hardly any part of your body that it doesn't harm.
Unfortunately, at present in the United States, less than 1% of individuals actually meet the criteria for ideal cardiovascular health.
So this is not a simple issue. This is a very complicated problem that involves a large number of people in the United States.
I'm afraid that this is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
If you were told, well, your child is at risk for cancer, that would get your attention. If you were told, well, your child is at risk for some sort of brain disease, that would get your attention. Well, obesity ought to be on that list.
Children are about to enter a world where they will be thrust into a culture that fosters eating at every hour of the day, around every corner of every street that they go on.
And it's important for the parents to just understand that there are all these forces working against them.
It's not enough just to limit ads for foods that aren't healthy. It's going to be so critical to increase marketing for foods that are healthy.
I've struggled with my weight all my life. If this kid was 160 pounds, there'd be no stopping him.
It's always been like, that'll never be my kid. But when it happens to you, it's kind of like life-changing.
His friend time is sitting in a chair with his headset playing a video game.
To wait, to not intervene early, and to deal with problems after the fact is basically sentencing some part of the population to a less healthy and shorter life.
You're going to lose weight by eating less. But once your weight is off, exercise is the #1 predictor of keeping weight off.
In order to lose weight and keep it off, people have to do an awful lot of hard work. They have to eat less and exercise more. They need to eat a balanced diet, and they need to be vigilant over a long period of time.
So I had to become more structured. I had to plan for my day.
Even if you weigh 400 pounds, you can change. It's not a matter of saying, I want to or I would like to. It is what will be.
If you have regular physical activity, you're less likely to have high blood pressure, less likely to have cancer, less likely to become depressed, less likely to be injured, less likely to have arthritis, more likely to feel better about yourself and be more productive at work.
This country is known for its ingenuity and its willingness to roll up its sleeves and take on problems.
I'm using the bully pulpit of my office to bring a greater level of attention to the need for all of us, to get active and to eat better. We can create communities that make living a healthy lifestyle the easy choice.
When it comes to fighting obesity, what is the best thing that I can do for me and my family?
Where do I start?
What could I do to change?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I want to think that there's something better for me.
The weight of the nation is out of control, but we can fix that.
It takes work, but it's so worth it.
The reason we have government in the first place is to solve problems collectively that we can't solve individually.
We have the collective will to do many, many things if we will but seize the moment.
If we don't now take this as a really serious, urgent national priority, we are, all of us individually and as a nation, going to pay a really serious price.
How many of you have ever tried to lose weight? Yeah, most of us, I imagine. Unfortunately, fat is the new normal. Think about that. I was a chubby kid, and the fat cells that I had as a child, I'm going to carry with me throughout my whole life. Like some of you, weight has been a personal struggle for me. But the obesity crisis is not about personal failure. It's not about being unable to stick to a diet or being weak-willed. The obesity crisis is because everything in our culture is centered around food and eating and the sedentary lifestyle. Just think, we eat when we're happy. We eat to celebrate occasions, like when the Easter Bunny comes and brings you chocolate. We eat when we're sad. We eat when we're bored. We eat when we watch TV. It's a part of our everyday life that is so difficult to change. And we value our time. So fast foods, when we're in a hurry, when we're in a time crunch, and we need to feed our families, are very, very appealing. And we have to think about the consequences of not doing something about this crisis. Obesity is killing us. It's killing Americans, and it's causing us to be at risk for serious chronic illnesses, illnesses that cost lots of healthcare dollars, the dollars that you and I are paying for out of our pockets. This is your wake-up call. We need to understand that obesity can be prevented and the trends can be reversed. We have many of the answers. The Institute of Medicine expert committees have written about them for over a decade. But dialing back the weight of the nation will take more than reports. It will take more than a single action or one activity or one policy change. There is no silver bullet. It's going to involve changing the foods we serve in our school cafeterias, bringing fresh foods to the food deserts around the country. It's going to be creating better play spaces for our kids. It's going to bring about bringing wellness programs into the workplace, and it's about cutting back on that screen time for us and our kids. But each and every one of us has to step up. We have to do our part, and each of us has to ask ourselves, what can I do for myself? What can I do for my family? And what can I do for my community? Bringing this all together and acting together is not only in our own best interest, it's in everyone's best interest. But this is not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen overnight. Think about how many years it took us to make inroads in smoking cessation, in getting people to use seat belts, and getting our kids vaccinated. But the promise of doing so is worth it. It's important. It's the health of our country. Now, John talked about our public health campaign. We hope that beginning on May 14th and 15th, the public health campaign that will be launched then will ignite a national movement so that each and every one of us can confront the weight of the nation. The weight of the nation can be fixed, but only if we work together to do so.